What's going on, everyone? So The Athletic released a report saying that it's not inconceivable that Anthony Davis may request a trade if LeBron retires in 2025. Now, obviously this doesn't pertain to now as far as like him requesting a trade, but if that is the case, and it's kind of like as soon as LeBron leaves, Anthony Davis is on his way out. The reason I want to talk about this now, as opposed to like the offseason or whenever LeBron James may potentially depart, is because it could impact the way that the Lakers kind of approach this trade season, right? Like if you have any inclination that LeBron James might retire and then Anthony Davis might request a trade, why are you going to sell all your assets? Why are you going to give up everything to try to build a contender around two guys that this might be their last year as Lakers, right? So I do have my concern that this report with The Athletic could potentially change the course with the Lakers. Now, I do think that there is an argument of, if you get the pieces around, like if the Lakers are able to build a real contender, right? Like, let's say the Lakers genuinely have a shot at contention. Or let's say they're, like, really close, right? Like, let's say this team is a really good team, but you're running OKC in the conference finals and you lose, or you get to the finals and you lose or something like that, right? And it's like, okay, like, it's there. We traded for 3-4 guys at the trade deadline, but it's there. LeBron James, he can take a discount to go get another piece or two, and you get the right guys, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's see how this goes. I don't think they're going to leave, or if they win, right? Like, what if you do go get, a Brandon Ingram or a Zach LaVine or something like that, and you end up, getting a Dorian Finney-Smith and a Day'Ron Sharpe, and you're in the conference finals, and then you win. And then you get to the NBA Finals. Let's say you even lose in the NBA Finals, right? Does LeBron go, man, okay, like let's make this push. Whatever I got to do, let's do it. I think if they do win, which, again, I think a lot has to happen for that to happen, for us to even have that, like, genuine conversation of, like, oh, are the Lakers a contender? Because they're not there yet. But, again, you get 2, 3, 4 high-end caliber guys, like rotation pieces. I'm not talking about stars, just, like, quality rotation pieces can change the landscape of your team. Don't underestimate the value of 1, 2, 3 guys. This is basketball, right? This is 5-on-5. You upgrade 3 spots in your starting unit outside of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, that automatically raises your ceiling, right? Like, so again, guys can have a real impact. And plus, I've talked about, if you get a Brandon Ingram or a Zach LaVine or something like that, right? Like, it knocks down the pecking order, right? So now, like, if you get Zach LaVine, right, just using him as an example, well, now Austin Reeves isn't your 3rd best guy. Austin Reeves is now your 4th. Dalton Connect isn't now your 3rd or 4th best guy, right? Like, now he's like your 5th or 6th best guy, right? Like, it knocks down players to where now you're just a better overall team, right? So if the Lakers are able to make a move and it leads to them winning a championship, one, I think LeBron will do whatever he has to do to go try to win another one. Because then at that point, he's one away from 6. You don't think he wants to go get that 6th ring, especially if he can go back-to-back? Especially if he can be like, man, like I can go out with a bang here, like get to number 6 and like, let's go, right? Like I definitely think that that's something. So I do think it is in the Lakers' interest to kind of get that guy. But if there is this growing fear, right, of Anthony Davis potentially leaving, do they, instead of going and getting, like, let's say right now, Rob Pelinka, obviously we don't know for certain, but like let's say Rob Pelinka's right now thinking like, okay, let's go get, a Dorian Finney-Smith, Day'Ron Sharpe, and Dennis Schroeder, right? Like let's go get some athleticism out on the perimeter, some quality role guys for LeBron and AD. Well, if there's any inclination that LeBron may end up leaving and retiring, and Anthony Davis will request a trade, then does now Rob Pelinka go, okay, instead of me going and getting those guys, do I look to try to go get a Trey? Or, maybe it is more urgent to go get a Zach LaVine because it's like, okay, well, if LeBron does retire and you have Zach LaVine and Anthony Davis and we can kind of put pieces around them, kind of keep them competitive, keep them, Anthony Davis in a position to maybe stick around, right? Does that change the course on how Rob Pelinka looks at these trades going forward, right? Instead, because you don't want to go and trade for a bunch of role guys if your stars are just going to leave, because now you're rebuilding at that point, right? Now you're looking hopefully for a sign and trade of LeBron James to get some assets back. And then you're looking at a sign and, or not a sign and trade, but just a straightforward trade for Anthony Davis to get some assets back, right? You don't want to go get a bunch of older, like Dorian Finney-Smith. I love the idea of Dorian Finney-Smith, but he's also, 31, right? Dennis Schroeder, same thing, right? Like he's 30 and 31, right? Like, why are you going to go trade for those guys, give up assets to have your two stars leave you, and now you're rebuilding, and it's like, well, we really shouldn't have traded those assets, right? Like now we just got like a bunch of like random older role players, right? Like, yeah, you might be able to get something for those guys, but probably not what you're giving up, right? Like, it's just, if you're the Lakers, you could put yourself in a pretty bad position, right? I don't, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't know, obviously, but I don't believe LeBron retires after this season. I don't. And even then, like, even if LeBron does retire, I don't think Anthony Davis will ask out immediately, right? Like, I think he'll give the Lakers a chance, like, okay, LeBron's leaving, go find me that other guy, go get me that other star, right? I'll give you the opportunity to, like, get something here so I can try to win and compete, right? I don't think it'll be something where, like, okay, 2025, LeBron retires, and now Anthony Davis gone. Now, I could see maybe the Lakers wanting to go that direction, right? If LeBron leaves, it's kind of like, okay, like, because we're under the assumption that, like, okay, if LeBron leaves, who's the co-star alongside Anthony Davis, right? So is it a Zach LaVine? Is it a Brandon Ingram? Is it a Trey? Is it, do you go get Kyrie in the offseason or something, right? Like, who is it that you're going to pair long-term alongside Anthony Davis? But what if the Lakers are looking at it as like, as soon as LeBron leaves, we might as well just hit the reset button, right? I also think another star will come, right? I see the comments all the time where people are like, no one wants to play with LeBron. Like, it's so silly, right? Like, of course people want to play with LeBron, but they don't want to be the third option, right? Like, do you think these young stars want to be the third guy? No, right? Like, what young star wants to go to the Lakers? Like, you think if Devin Booker became available, you think Devin Booker wants to go play the Lakers to be the third guy, right? Like, Anthony Edwards. Let's say Anthony Edwards is like, get me out of here, right? Or De'Aaron Fox, right? He just signed with Clutch, or he's part of Clutch. I mean, he's a guy that may end up leaving Sacramento in the offseason. Do you think he's thinking like, oh man, I would love to go to the Lakers and be the third guy, right? No, if LeBron leaves, he'd probably look at it as like, man, me and Anthony Davis, we could do some damage, right? Me and Anthony Davis, we can make some noise, right? I mean, how many stars want to go and be, yeah, maybe on some nights be the second guy, but as soon as LeBron wants to be LeBron, guess what? You got to take a step back and, okay, let LeBron go be LeBron, right? Like, so that's what it is. Not that they don't, if they were the second guy, right? Like, if Anthony Davis wasn't on the team, like, yeah, of course players might go, man, like, oh, let me go play with LeBron, right? But we also don't necessarily need that, right? Like, obviously it'd be great to go get a young star, but it's not, they'll come once you have the money and if you have the structure around it, right? Like, if you have an Anthony Davis, like, if Anthony Davis is willing to give you a year or two, which he might not, because, he's getting older, but if he's willing to give you a year or two, right? And like, let's say you go make the move for, Dorian Finney-Smith, Dennis Schroeder, Day'Ron Sharpe, right? Like, and you're in a position where it's like, okay, we have the pieces. If we just get another star, we could be a contender. Another star is going to see that, man, I can go to LA, get the beach, the weather, the girls, nightlife, right? Got Anthony Davis, got, Dennis Schroeder, Dorian Finney-Smith, right? Day'Ron Sharpe, he's coming into his own, Dalton Connect, right? Like, good coach, right? Like, man, you add me, we might be able to do this thing, right? Like, you might get that. But it's probably not going to happen until LeBron retires because, again, teams, like, players are going to want the money, right? They're going to want to be the guy or, at least, 1A, right? Rather than, like, a B or a C, right? Like, it's just a very different circumstance. But I really hope that this report from The Athletic doesn't affect and impact Rob Pelinka's decision-making, right? Like, he can't make decisions based on tomorrow. right? You have to make decisions based on today because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? Like anything could happen tomorrow, right? Like, so to me, I just think you got to stay the course. You got to stay in the clear direction that you're in. And then, if Anthony Davis wants out, you figure it out. Or if LeBron retires. I also, like I said, I don't think LeBron's going to retire after this year. I don't. I don't think he's going to play much longer. But I could see him waiting it out. I mean, he's got, 2 more years and then his other son plays. Right? I think he might wait around for that. And here's the thing, again, like if you put together a contender, right, LeBron's probably going to be more incentivized to stay. If we're terrible, if we're a play-in team again this year, or we missed the play-in altogether, or we missed the playoffs or something, then yeah, I can see LeBron being like, why am I here? Like, what's the point? If I'm not playing for championships, I'm just playing for ego, right? Like, so I do think that you do need to kind of stay the course, build the contender. And if you build the contender, I think LeBron James and Anthony Davis will stick around. But those are my thoughts and opinions. And as always, I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you have concerns too that like, hey, maybe this changes kind of Rob Pelinka and his thought process and kind of the course that he's on? Do you think, like it won't affect anything? He's either going to make a deal or he's not. However you feel, whatever your thoughts are. Either way, I would love to hear it, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out, so we enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.